Hey guys, it's Kenny with UglyTent. Welcome to another episode of Basic Wilderness Survival. Today's lesson will be lesson number 2, fire. Now in the survival community there's a lot of threes. So they say you can live 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 hours, I believe it is, with a uncontrolled core body temperature, and 3 minutes without air. So take that for what it's worth. You know, I'm sure it is not set in stone, and there's people who have gone past those or died before. You know, it's just a rule of thumb. But today on fire, we're going to talk about the fire triangle, which is on the triangle you have 3 points. To make fire, you need heat, fuel, and oxygen. We're going to cover all those today briefly, show you how to make a fire, and then how to incorporate that into your shelter. So stick with me. Okay, so right here is a really good example of the kind of material we're going to be looking for our kindling and our fuel. The kind of stuff you're looking for. This is a dead pine tree, dead standing pine, and this is exactly what we want. So you'll know it's good and dry when it snaps and breaks off real easy. Hear that snap? That's what you're looking for. Beautiful. And all these little pieces here, see all these little tiny pieces? That is beautiful. Another general rule of thumb is, however much you can carry, you know, that you can bundle up and carry, is about 45 minutes worth of burn time. Okay, where I'm from in eastern Kentucky, we have a lot of pine trees, a lot of coniferous forest. The natural material we're looking for is a down pine tree. In a down pine tree is where you will find fatwood. Fatwood is where the resin collects in the limbs of the tree that are dead. It goes back towards the base. So the tree starts to pull its resin back in, or its sap back into the base. So on these limbs is where you're going to find fatwood. And all I'm using is my sack, my Swiss Army knife with the saw blade on it. I didn't even need it. I mean, right there's a good example. Let's get some more though. So in a survival situation, this would work out good. You can see the orange color to the tree, to the limb, and that's where the sap is starting to gather. Now this is not a perfect piece of fatwood, but that's a pretty good representation of what you're looking for. And this will be a good natural fire starting material. As you can see, I've laid out my wood into piles. I've got your fire starting material here, your kindling, bigger kindling onto your fuel wood. So let me show you a good comparison of the fatwood I acquired. So this is the fatwood I got from the down tree versus the limb I took off of the standing dead. Now see the difference in the color? See how orange looking this is? And you can smell the resin in it where it collects. It smells like turpentine. So another rule of 3 is prevent forest fires, or prevent your camp from catching on fire. So what you want is a 3-foot cleared off section. You want the fire lay to be no more than 3 foot long or in diameter, and you don't want the flames to reach higher than 3 foot. That's a rule of thumb for preventing forest fires or catching your camp on fire. However, since I'm in a survival scenario and it's cold, that's why I'm building a fire, I want to put this about a foot away from my camp. I want to be able to egress to get out of the shelter, but I want it to warm close enough to where I can keep a low flame and continue heating the shelter I've built. So what I'm going to use here is a Mora knife, companion, and a pre-made fuel kit. If you don't carry one of these, a little survival kit, you should. Again, if you're out in the wilderness and you don't have a pre-made kit, then be looking for dry grass, bark that's dry that you can peel off, like poplar bark, a down pine tree with plenty of material, plenty of fat wood. Those are the things you're looking for to build a fire. Let me show you what's in this pre-made kit. It's basically an Altoids tin with cotton ball with Vaseline, and those burn about 6 minutes. And then this is fat wood I've cut up. You can buy this. See the coloration? And this is a pre-made fire starter. It's called a tumbleweed. It's called a tumbleweed. Can't think of the name of it. You can buy these at like Lowe's and stuff like that. So here's a little pre-made fire kit you can make yourself. I sell these. They're easy to make. They're inexpensive. It's great for people learning to get started. So the area I'm in has a lot of pine duff. So I want to make sure that I've got it clear to where I can build a fire and not catch the whole floor, the forest floor on fire. But I come here frequently. So I know I've built fires here before. I know how this ground reacts. Okay, my first choice is always a Bic lighter. So Bic lighters are foolproof because even if they're out of fluid, you can still use it to get a spark. You can scrape off the plastic to use for fire starting material. They generally don't work when it reaches 32 degrees. So once it reaches freezing, this thing probably won't light. We're going to do this the easy way so I can show you. Then I'll show you how to use the ferro rod next. So I'm going to save the ferro rod for the cotton ball and Vaseline. So what I'm going to do now is just show you how easy this fat wood lights. Okay. Now you can watch the black smoke. See that starting to burn? It's like a little match. Now I've talked about this in other videos. Preparation is everything, just like Abraham Lincoln said. If I had 4 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend the first 3 sharpening my axe. So we're going to prepare a fire lay or a raft. Take this stick here. It's just dead wood. Take my mallet or baton. Take my Mora knife. See the check in it? See that crack? I'm going to follow that crack. I'm going to beat this through. And then we cut that in half. We got a nice fire lay. You can split wood to get to the inner part to burn easier. That's a good way to do it too, with a baton. That's advanced fire making, which we'll get into that later. Kind of making a feather stick. All right. Don't want to overthink it. So now we'll take our Bic lighter. We're going to light this and put her down. Now we'll start piling our little match size stuff on top of it and hope it catches. Now a good question is when do I start adding more fuel? Is when the fire comes up over the sticks that you put down. Because if they're not coming over top of it, then you're going to smother it out. Once it gets going, and just lay them on top. Now we're going to start, now that we're building a good fire here, we're going to start putting bigger pieces on it. And see how that's taken off over top of the fuel that you're adding to it, over top of the sticks. Now we're getting somewhere. Now this is when we continue to add bigger sticks to it. Now we're going on to pencil-sized sticks, then thumb-sized, and then the big stuff. Okay, now that we've demonstrated the Bic lighter, which is what I carry, along with the ferro rod. This is a ferrocerium rod. This throws off a high temperature spark, around 5,000 degrees. So even when wet, even when cold, you can get a spark. The trouble with this is that you have to really prepare, unlike a Bic lighter where you can just light the fat wood. Something like this, you have to really prepare your fire lay. So if I were using fat wood, I would get a lot more shavings, a lot more the fine stuff from the fat wood, from the back of my knife, feather stick from the front of my knife. I want to really get a lot to catch fire with the spark, because it's hard to do with a spark. And it comes with practice. So we're going to take the cotton ball and Vaseline. We're going to open it up a little bit to expose some of the layers, the fibers inside that are probably dry and not covered in Vaseline. I'm going to put it on my fire lay. I'm going to scoot this away from that so I don't cheat. Okay, now we're going to take our ferro rod and strike it. Now there's different ways to do the ferro rod. You can pull away with your knife being static or stable, or you can shave it towards it. Whatever works best for you. However, if you're shaving towards it, your knife is moving towards your fire lay, you're liable to knock stuff off into the mud or the snow or the whatever's wet and run your tinder. So I'm going to pull away and see if I can get this lit. Trying to. There we go. So with minimal effort, we've got our cotton ball and Vaseline lit already with the ferro rod. Unless it's a torrential downpour, that's probably going to work. Again, we're going to start building. We got more time with this because that's going to burn for 6 minutes. And I don't have to be as careful with this because it's petroleum. In other words, it's going to stay burning, unlike the fat wood, which you have to be more delicate with. I'm already got my flame above the sticks, so I'm adding bigger sticks. As you can see, I didn't use all my material. I'm going to save some back so that if this starts to die down for some reason, I can add it to it and build it back up. And just like that, we have a decent little fire going. And this is sustainable. I know the way I built it, that I can keep adding to it, and it's not going to go out. Again, this is not the end all to fire making. This isn't the only way to do it. There's numerous ways, hundreds of ways to do this. So now we really got our fire going good. That's what we want to keep ourselves warm. And I guarantee if I got underneath that shelter, it's going to be probably 10 to 15 degrees warmer in there already. And I could even scoot the fire closer, you know. Now I've got it built, you can actually move it, especially as small as it is. So I hope you learned something. Hope it was helpful to you. Go out and try this, practice this, whether it's in your backyard or the deep wilderness, whatever you want to do. Go out and try this, these two things, the shelter, the fire. Practice it, get proficient with it, and we'll move on to the next video, which will be foraging in water. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and I'll see you on the next video.